Once upon a time, in a small village at the foot of a mountain, there lived a young man. This young man was known throughout the village for his laziness. He spent his days lying in the shade of a tree, dozing and dreaming, while the other villagers worked in the fields and workshops. One day, a wise old monk came to the village and beckoned the young man to him. "My son," said the monk, "I have a task for you. I want you to climb to the top of this mountain and bring back one feather from there." The young man looked up at the mountain and grinned. "That's impossible," he said. "I'm too lazy to climb up there." The monk smiled and said, "Ah, but you see, the feather I'm looking for is not on the mountain itself. It is on the other side of the mountain, in a cave that can only be reached by climbing to the top and coming down the other side." The young man was intrigued. He had never heard of this feather, and the thought of such a unique task piqued his curiosity. And so he decided to accept the monk's challenge. The climb was long and arduous, and soon the young man found himself out of breath and sweating profusely. But as he climbed higher and higher, he began to feel a sense of elation and excitement that he had never felt before. When he finally reached the top, he was exhausted, but he was elated. He looked at the breathtaking view before him and felt a sense of fulfillment he had never felt before. But the real test lay ahead. The young man had to descend the other side of the mountain and find the cave where the feather was said to be in. The descent was even more treacherous than the ascent, and the young man stumbled and fell many times. But he persevered, driven by the hope of the feather that lay ahead. And when he finally reached the cave, he saw the feather lying there, gleaming in the light, coming through Afrotias. He picked up the feather and marveled at its beauty. But then he realized he had a problem. How was he going to climb the mountain and return the feather to the monk? For a moment, the young man thought of giving up. But then he remembered the sense of pride and satisfaction he felt when he reached the top. He knew he had the strength and determination to do it again. And so he climbed the mountain again. His muscles ached and his lungs burned. But he didn't give up. He forced himself to keep going, driven by the realization that he had overcome his own laziness and accomplished something truly remarkable. When he finally reached his goal and handed him the quill, the monk smiled and said, "Well done, my son. Today you have learned an important lesson. Laziness is not something to be tolerated or put up with. It is a challenge to be overcome, an obstacle to be jumped over." The young man nodded. Realizing the wisdom of the monk's words, he realized that he had always been capable of great things, but laziness had held him back. Now he knew that he had the strength and determination to overcome any obstacle that came his way. The lesson of the monk's challenge is that laziness is not something to be tolerated or put up with. It is a challenge to overcome, an obstacle to jump over. When we force ourselves to pursue our goals, even when they seem impossible, we discover strength and resilience we didn't even realize we had. To overcome laziness, we must challenge ourselves to set ambitious goals, no matter how difficult they may seem. We must go beyond our limits and persevere even when faced with setbacks and obstacles. We must also instill discipline and consistency in our daily habits and routines by making a schedule and sticking to it. We can develop good habits that will help us stay focused and productive even when we don't feel like it. Another important aspect of overcoming laziness is cultivating a growth mindset. This means seeing problems and setbacks as opportunities for growth and learning, not as reasons to give up. By adopting a growth mindset, we can change our attitude towards failure and use it as a catalyst for improvement and progress. Ultimately, overcoming laziness requires a willingness to step out of our comfort zone and embrace the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.